All right, let's talk about the potentially biggest news of Dynamic Disc's entire career. A lot of you are watching but not subscribed, so if you could subscribe, it would really mean a lot to me. All right, so obviously you can see from the title, Dynamic has been acquired by the parent company of Latitude 64, House of Disc. And it's important to note here that the House of Disc conglomerate purchased the full ownership of Dynamic Disc from its founder, Jeremy Rusco, who has claimed to reinvest the majority of his buyout into the parent company. But we don't know what a majority means. We don't know if this actually has weight behind it. We don't know if he still profited a ton. There's a lot of details left unknown here. So last year, Latitude was acquired by House of Disc. So basically, they're a disc golf conglomerate. They have a bunch of different companies, including Westside Cast Blast, Hand-Eye, the company that makes Disc Golf Valley. And along with that, they are funded by basically two equity firms, Vendus Capital and Equip Capital, who have controlling shares in Latitude 64. So this is definitely important to note because a lot of big changes and a lot of popularity was grown in Latitude 64 last year and the year before. And clearly they are the benchmark of success for disc golf right now. So the fact that Dynamic was able to get acquired by them seems to me to be a great sign for Dynamic and their future and projected growth. As far as their discs go, I don't think there will actually be a huge change right now. I would be very interested to see when they start to expand, if they start to use the same plastic injection molding equipment that Latitude's using, because obviously the Royal series of discs is to me the best possible run of discs I've ever thrown. And not only that, but if they do have cast blast along with that, then they have a great series of discs that they could start basing their own plastic off of. Obviously, you could see this coming based upon Latitude and Dynamic being such close companies. But also, I think there is a pretty obvious indicator to me, and that would be that the founder, Jeremy Rusco of Dynamic Disc, has been at the company for a while. He claims that he's trying to focus a little bit more on his family. But I definitely see this as a play to potentially sell the company, make the profits that he's been working so hard on, and kind of just cash out a little bit, take a little bit of a step back from the company, rake in some profits while still maintaining a great image of the company, because I don't think this will actually harm the company. I think this will be a great move for Dynamic and all the discs and manufacturing that they want to produce for the time being and for the future. But with that said, I do think that if you're Jeremy, you also are looking for a payday. I think this is a very strong indicator of that. But that does not have to mean that it's a selfish act or that it's not in the best interest of Dynamic Disc. And as this article says, they'll continue to operate in Emporia. That's not too surprising because there is so much to Dynamic and to their entire manufacturing in Emporia. So for them to change would be pretty outrageous. And Jeremy quoted saying that he feels like the business has outgrown his professional direction. And I think if you're Dynamic pre-acquisition, then I think you are obviously looking at what Latitude's doing right, what Cast Blast is doing right, maybe even Lone Star. You have these very premium feeling plastics that are getting a lot of traction. And if you're Dynamic, you are not really selling all that much unique products for the future. You obviously are selling your staples, your judges, your wardens, your felons, and all those staples of Dynamic. But what kind of new discs are you actually selling? I know that Ricky has a bunch of Dynamic Disc Signature Series discs, but I don't actually see those being thrown that often. I think they're incredibly overstable. I don't think they sell a great amount of discs. So I think having a new, fresh eye on the company, on their manufacturing, is going to be a great change of pace for the company. If that is to happen, they still might just be a company that has a little bit more funding. There may actually not be a huge change, but only time will tell. So also, like last year with Latitude 64, having the two capital firms allows them to have a whole lot more room for growth and funding, whatever that turns into. I'm very interested to see. And something to note here is that the House of Disc has already been considering building a manufacturing plant in the U.S. And not only that, but potentially in Emporia itself. Jeremy Rusco himself has said that there's going to be a rapid expansion of disc golf shops. So he clearly has a lot on the mind. But something very interesting at the end of this entire article is something that I find very indicative that he wants to sell. He wants to take his cash out. And that was that he stated that this could become a publicly traded company. I don't know if that's Dynamic. I don't know if that's House of Disc as a whole. And it's one of my beliefs that would be very beneficial for the company. Obviously be very beneficial if it could make a huge upswing in the market for its own market cap. But something that's not noted here is that it would make Jim Rusco a ton of money as the founder. So you have to definitely take this with a grain of salt. You don't necessarily know if he's speaking the most earnestly. If you look at Latitude as a baseline, we can definitely know that the company is not going to go on a nosedive. It has been proven that these investment firms are really looking out for the disc golf companies and their funding. So I have a lot of high hopes for the future of Dynamic. I personally have been throwing Dynamic since day one, but I haven't seen a great amount of change in the business itself. So I'm really excited to see what this future looks like, if it actually has some teeth behind it, or if this is the mark of innovation in the next stage of dynamic discs. We'll have to find out, but we'll only know through time. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. There is a lot going on here, so make sure to leave a comment. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this. This is certainly an interesting spot in disc golf where companies are getting bought out left and right. We'll have to see how it all ends up. So with that, Wild Runs signing out. Peace.